today we will be talking about sources of innovation, where the ideas for new products, services come from. I would like you to participate with me if you have any examples while I'm talking here about innovation. If you have any comment, if you have any question, just raise your hand, please, and then feel free to interrupt me, okay? So before we start, the word innovation, I am quite sure every single person in this room has different understanding of innovation. People have different views about innovation. Therefore, we should have a common understanding of what do we mean by innovation. Then we will start our topic of today about the sources of innovation. Now, if I ask you, what does innovation mean for you? What is innovation? Yes.
Like creative ideas, create something new.
To bring new ideas,
Yes.
to add something new, she says, right? Innovation?
Implementing our idea to innovate something.
To innovate something, she said, to implement ideas, to bring something new, right? Yeah, please.
The question was, what is innovation? Yes.
Yeah.
I think that innovation, it is either a new technology or a new business model.
So she said, look, in fact, that innovation is about technology, a new technology, or a new business model, right? And my question would be, what about services? Nowadays, we are living in service economy, basically, right? So we may include services to technology. When we speak about innovation, we are talking about new products, technology products. We are talking about a new different business model. We are talking about services. Talking of business model, give me example of innovative business model, something we started to see recently. I'm sorry, Airbnb, right? Uber, almost all the different ways of doing things. Airbnb is basically a hotel industry, right? It's the biggest hotel company in the world, but they don't own one single room, right? So when we speak about innovation, for us, it will be something new. It can be small, just a small improvement. You know, you have, can I use your iPhone? Is it iPhone or something? Anyway, can I use it? So a new version of iPhone. You know, every time they improve, iPhone 5, 6, 7, and so on. We call it a small improvement. We call it incremental, right? So when we speak about innovation, thank you, it can be a small improvement, we call it incremental, or something radical, revolutionary, something we never heard about, totally new. We call it radical innovation. So when we speak about innovation, it can be something totally small, a small added value. Just think about iPhone 10 nowadays. X, what do we have in iPhone X? The facial recognition, right? So just a small improvement basically from the previous iPhones. So every new version of new phone, iPhone, we call it incremental innovation, small improvement. Versus radical, something totally new. Give me example of radical innovations. We started to hear about them nowadays around us. Say it again? Alibaba, well, I'm not very sure, but it's e-commerce website in the end, right? I'm not, it's multi-billion business and I'm saying it's in the end. Okay, Alibaba can be, but I need something radical, something totally new. We started to hear about recently, yeah, please?
Dropbox.
A Dropbox, okay, and blockchain, right?
But it isn't new technology.
It's not really a collection of maybe connected together, a new way of doing business, right?
This technology was like invented 10 years ago, so it isn't new one.
But
Exactly.
why we are hearing about it right now? Why we didn't hear about it 10 years ago? Nowadays, everybody's talking about the blockchain, right? But even though it was invented a while ago, 10 years ago, she said, but nowadays we started to see the business application, right? Now, the same story about the internet. The internet was used within the Pentagon for almost 15 years during the 1980s, and then they bring it into industries, into businesses. So 1991, 92, 93, we started to hear about internet. We see business application of the internet, even though the technology itself was invented 15 years earlier. You can think about laser technology. 20 years. The technology was there, but business people did not see any possible business application of the laser technology. But nowadays, our life is really around laser technology. Look at the CDs, DVDs, barcode, medical surgery. Almost everything is based on laser technology, even though at the time it was almost 20 years ago when they invented. Innovation can be small, it can be radical. When we spoke about radical, they gave me two examples. He gave me Dropbox, folder sharing. She mentioned to blockchain. But there is something even bigger than those two, or based on these two. Give me Internet of Things, right? Nowadays, I'm sorry? Internet of Things, right? Internet is a bit old, but Internet of Things, the new idea of not connecting people. So far, what we use, the way we use the internet is people communicate through the internet, right? But Internet of Things, machines will be communicating, devices will be communicating with each other, right? Decisions will be taken, and the human are not even involved. So they call it Internet of Things, and this is a radical innovation, something new. A cloud technology, it is a radical innovation, right? So the bottom line, innovation is something new. It can be tiny, small improvement. We call it incremental. It can be totally new. We call it radical, right? Radical innovation is something totally new, something we haven't heard about before. Now, there is misunderstanding of innovation. When we speak about innovation, in fact, it has two parts, two components. One, we call it creativity, idea generation. Before you innovate, you need to come up with different ideas, right? And then probably you will select the best idea and then you implement. So when we discuss innovation, when we describe innovation, we are talking about two different things: creativity, implementation. Two components. We may see it here. So the innovation for us, two components: creativity, idea generations, and then the implementation of those ideas. Obviously, you cannot implement something unless if you have the idea, right? So usually how it works, we come up with different ideas and then we select the best, we start implementation. The implementation take time. The implementation needs a lot of resources, right? So the implementation is the longer versus the creativity side is a shorter period of time, and it doesn't really require that much resources. All what you need is creative people, smart people, come up with good ideas. Once you generate ideas, we start to implement them. Nowadays, we have around us, we maybe look at the products we are using, either your laptop or your smartphone. Companies competing head to head, and actually if you sleep for a few months, that's it, you will lose the market. Companies compete head to head. Now, the truth is, innovation is no longer a choice. It's not a choice. Should we innovate or just keep selling whatever products or services we are offering to the market? It's not a choice, because if you don't innovate, that's it, you are out of the market. Now we are all familiar with those companies, right? Even though I know Yahoo is still around, but what is the market share of Yahoo comparing to the competitor Google? It's nothing. Is there anybody here still using Hotmail? Raise your hand if you are still using Hotmail. 1, 2, 3. That's really a lot, huh? A lot. BlackBerry. This company Actually, it was among the first to bring smartphone to the market, right? Before Samsung, before Apple, but where is it now? Already terminated their operation. It's gone, it's over. Polaroid. Do you know this company? Polaroid? Can you describe it? What is the business of Polaroid? Instant photo camera, right? So you take photo, and it used to be one of the best 50 companies on earth. Within 10 years, it was disappeared. The company disappeared. If you don't keep innovating, that's it. In fact, I'm quite sure most of you heard about the story of Polaroid. The company in 1991 was ranked among the top 50 in the United States. In 2001, almost 9 years later, the company filed for bankruptcy. From the top, within 10 years, the company went out of business. The question is, what happened to this company? How come from the top 50 into out of business? There is something serious happened to this company, make it impossible for them to compete against others. And they tell you something, it's not about cash, it's not about money, because the company, in 1995, the company reported a huge amount of money were invested in R&D. So it's not a matter of money, they have the cash. It's not that they did not invest in R&D, they did, but they invested obviously in the wrong technology, because at that time, 1994, some companies brought what we call digital cameras, right? And Polaroid used to be a chemical-based, traditional cameras, kind of. Now, even though the company has cash, enough money, and they invested, but they invested in the wrong technology, right? So the problem is it's not just you need to innovate, but you need to actually select the right product to innovate and to spend your money into it. I am sure you have seen this. The talk, the CEO of Nokia. He gave a speech. It was a very emotional speech. He basically was crying, and he said, we did not do anything wrong. Actually, technology experts, they liked the first part. We did not do anything. Actually, the company did not do anything. You know, in 2006, Apple brought a smartphone, Samsung brought HTCs. The entire world knew the market is moving into smartphone, not mobile phone anymore. The only one who was not aware of this was Nokia. So everybody was producing a smartphone, bringing smartphone to the market, and touch screen and those innovations. Nokia actually kept working on mobile phone. And then 6 years later, the company did something, Nokia. What did they do? 2011. They launched their own smartphone. What is the name of? Lumia, right? So 6 years of deep sleep. But unfortunately, Lumia didn't work. It was too late, right? The competitors already there. What happened to the company?
It was acquired by Microsoft.
Microsoft, the mobile division of Nokia, the biggest in the world at the time, was acquired by Bill Gates. Yeah, Microsoft. Now, if you don't innovate, it's very simple. If you don't innovate, you disappear. It doesn't matter if you are a pioneer of smartphone. It doesn't matter if you are among the first to launch email services. It doesn't matter. You need to keep innovating. You need to keep improving. Now, the question is, where the ideas for new products, services, technologies come from? Obviously, one source, obvious source, would be within the company. Within the firm, we may look at the R&D facility, we may look at marketing and sales, we may look at the design and engineering. People from those functions actually bring new ideas, propose new ideas to the firm, And then the firm, based on their strategy, they will select the best ideas, implement them, and then hopefully they will bring something new to the market. But if you think about it nowadays in this global world, companies compete from all over the world. Now, if you have a small, tiny company in Thailand, you can't just say like, I know my market is here, Thailand, and I just focus on this. No, you can't. Chinese companies will come, European companies will come, American, Japanese. Everybody's competing with everybody, worldwide competition. Now, ideas, smart ideas, became the key to succeed in the market. Companies competing over ideas, smart, intelligent people, right? We look around, everybody's looking around, just they want to bring the best into the company. You can't, no company can rely only on internal sources of innovation. You cannot rely on your own people, because you might have the smart engineers, but sure, somewhere else on earth there are smarter engineers than you. Maybe you have the best designers, but good designers, but there will be someone even much better than yours somewhere else. Smart companies, they will look at external sources of innovation, meaning I know I have smart people, I know I have good people, but I really need to benefit from those who are not working for me. How can I benefit from them? Again, it's for the same reason. The competition is global, it's high. And if you just rely on your own people, this is not enough. The concept of open innovation, crowdsourcing, user innovations, all describe how companies can benefit from the external world, from others who do not work for the company. And I think this is really smart, right, move by companies to benefit from others. Now, user innovation. Here, companies, one source of ideas, solutions, is to look at the users. Users usually have some needs or some problems, and if there is no solution available, they will try to innovate, to solve their own problems. Companies look how the user innovate, how the user solve the problems he's facing or she's facing, and then they adopt that idea. Now, Professor von Hippel, he's from MIT, and he was the first to come up with this user innovation terminology. In his book, he explained how companies actually use the users as a source for good creative ideas. Now, do you know this person?
Yes.
Yeah. Berners-Lee, Serber. Believe it or not, this guy, he used to work for CERN. CERN, C-E-R-N, is a research institution in Switzerland. I'm sorry, say it again.
It's a founder of McD.
The founder of what?
McDonald's?
No, has nothing to do with McDonald's. He's a pure scientist, yeah. This guy, he, back in the day, I'm talking about 1988, 89, 1990, he has a computer in his office, he has another computer in his home, and he found it difficult because there are some files in the computer in the office, and other files. And remember, at that time, we don't have Dropbox, right? We don't have flash memory. So it was really hard. Some files here, some other files here. So for him, this was a real big problem. And he wanted to solve this problem. And guess what? He came up with the www. Imagine, our life is around it's the internet, right? So to solve, and when they asked him, how did you come up with this great idea? He said, it was something I needed for my work. Very simple. It's not really complicated for him. User innovation. Now, another idea, 3M. We know this company. 3M, over years, always has been listed as the top innovative companies, among the top 10 most innovative companies in the world. Now, we are I'm quite sure all familiar with this post-it, right? You know post-it, yeah? It's a couple of billion income comes to 3M because of this post-it. Almost everybody here is using it, I'm quite sure. And here is the same story again. There were a guy working for this company, and this guy, every Sunday he go to the church, he was singing in the church choir, and every time when he's reading and his bookmark fell down, and then he messed up the pages. So he was working for 3M, and at 3M there was interesting technology. It's a sticky material. You stick it in the wall, for example, you take it off, it doesn't leave any mark. So he said, okay, I think I can use this in my bookmark to keep it on the page, on the books he was reading, so that he will not mess up pages again. In 2 years, the company adopted the idea. First, they used it within the company, within the 3M. Then they started to producing this as post-it, you know, the stickers. And we are talking about 8 billion income comes from this, and the entire product is just someone who has a problem and he wanted to solve his own problems. These examples, we call them user innovation because the idea comes from the users, right? I have another example, is more interesting. 2011. Who's Thai here? Who's from Thailand? Raise your hand. Who's from Thailand here? 1, 2. Okay, only 2. So you're not Thai. No, okay. In 2011, Thailand had a huge flood. You probably heard about. The flood was one of the worst that Thailand experienced in the last 50 years. The World Bank has estimated 45.7 billion economic damages. Plus, there were almost 900 people were lost because of this flood. In the next slide here, do you know what is this? AIT entrance. You remember AIT, right? Can you believe this is the parking? You know the parking place? It's this one. It's the water was 3 meters high. So, total disaster. Actually, this is from Honda. The manufacturer, they have manufacturing facility somewhere, and the entire where they park the new cars, they were all gone, all submerged in the water. Why I'm showing you this? When I used to go to the Isan part, the countryside, I always noticed that villagers, when they build their own home, they are always somehow half a meter, maybe 1 meter high, above the ground. And I never actually realized, because they had bad experience with the flood before, so they started to build it a little bit higher than the buildings are not on the ground, but higher. And then during the flood, some villagers, very simple people, they started to use barrels under their small homes. And the good thing with the barrel is that when the water comes, the building will float, right? And then when the water goes, the building come back again to the same location. Of course, you need to tie it somewhere, right? You don't want to wake up in the morning, you are in another city, yeah? I'm talking about very simple people here. That was a good solution, because during a flood, you know, even toilets become really very big problems. And people came up with very simple floating toilet. It's the same building, you just put a barrel so that whenever, no matter how the water is high, the building will float with the water, right? Another good example, Kanchanaburi, probably 3 hours, I don't know, 2 hours from here? How far Kanchanaburi from here? 2-3 hours, 1 hour, maybe by aeroplane, yeah. No, I think it's 2.5 hours. It's not really far. It's a very beautiful place. And then here in this village, because of, again, the flood damaged the bridge between the two sides of the river. And then the villagers, they came up with very simple bridge made from bamboo. And when the water level increased, the bridge goes up, water float, the bridge go back to the same. Very simple, but very creative solutions. Now, some companies, they adapt this idea and they came up with much more sophisticated system with pumps, and then when water comes, the building will be elevated, and then when the water goes, the building goes back. Of course, it's a smart, it's high-tech building, but the main idea comes from simple villagers. So this is even though this is high-tech, but the main idea comes from simple villagers. Users, innovation. Villagers have a problem and they solve their problems. Companies look at them, understand how what the villagers did to solve it, and then they adopt that idea and they make it much more, of course, fancy. But in the end, the source of the idea is still the same: users. Now, there is another source of innovation. We call it open innovation. Now, open innovation here, there's a Professor Henry Gasparov, UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. He explained this idea, open innovation. He said, look, you need much more sources of ideas. Even though your scientists, your engineers, your R&D people, your marketing, your sales people are good, but there are some smarter people somewhere else, you need to benefit from them. Not just about the sources, but also about the market. Traditionally, what we do, we spend money in R&D, you come up with a product, service, you bring your products to the market, right? You spend money in your R&D, you come up with interesting products, you bring the products or services to the market. So basically, our R&D, our market. And Henry Gasparov, he said, look, this is really not a very smart idea. If you spend money in your R&D and you come up with interesting technology, then you use the technology in the products, right, to sell to the customers. He said, what if you increase your source of income by licensing your technology? Meaning, my R&D people came up with the technology, I will use the technology in the products, right? I sell it to the market, but also I can license the technology to other companies. Because when I license the technology, meaning I give you the right to use my technology, you will give me, of course, money. You will have to pay a certain amount of money upfront, then you will pay 3 to 5% of the sales of that product. So this is income coming. This is what Henry Gasparov called it open innovation. One, you bring ideas from outside in, he called sources of innovation, external sources. You bring ideas, solutions, technologies from outside your company into your company. The second part of the idea is to increase your market, either by selling your product to the market or license your product to the other companies to bring different products to the market, and then, of course, they will have to pay you. So you are increasing your income. In his definitions, Henry Gasparov, he said, open innovation is the use of inflow and outflow of knowledge to accelerate internal innovation. How you accelerate it? Because you are bringing more ideas and more technologies in, and expand the market for external use of innovation. So ideas in, and then from outside into your company, but also from your company to the outside. In his definitions, he said, look, you can collaborate You can bring in new ideas from suppliers, from your customers, from users of your product, but actually even from the competitors. Nowadays, companies work closely, collaborating with their direct competitors. You may think about Microsoft collaborating with Cisco. Both companies competing head-to-head on networking, security networking products. But when it comes to the next generation of security products, they said, you know what? We really need to collaborate together. We cannot do it independently. Cisco, Microsoft competing in that particular market, but they still collaborate. Because they know, actually, if you want to make it alone, it may take a lot of time, it may take a lot of money. The failure rate is very high. So what if we collaborate with the competitors? So we divide or we distribute the risk of failure. We distribute the cost of technology we are working on. And if we succeed, then it will be 50-50. This is what he called it open innovation, collaborating with external sources. Customers, universities, suppliers, competitors, it doesn't matter. All what you need is new ideas, you bring it into the company. Now, this is how Professor Gasparov explained his idea. He said, look, traditionally, back in the day, we have a closed innovation system, meaning we have our R&D, our research and development comes up with good, interesting technologies, and then we bring those technology products into the market. But he said, look, this is really not a very smart idea. You should see your innovation funnel with some holes in it. Meaning, you have your internal R&D, bring your products, and then you can bring the product into the market. This is what we have been doing over the last hundreds of years. But he said, beside that, what if you license your technology to other companies so that other companies bring other products into different markets, and of course they have to pay you, or use technology produced by others, maybe by your competitor, maybe by your supplier, it doesn't matter, by universities. Use those technologies to bring in new products into a new market. If you see here, it doesn't really matter where the idea comes from. You should collaborate. You should have open attitude. Nowadays, the closed people, closed companies cannot survive. What we need is to open ourselves, to collaborate with everyone around us. We have one goal. What is the goal of any CEO, any top management of any company? What is the biggest goal? What is the biggest goal of any CEO? Assuming I hired you as a CEO of X company. So what is your biggest goal? What is the biggest objective of any CEO or the top management of any company? What? Generate profit, right? If you don't make profit, that's it, I fire you. Why would I have you, right? The biggest goal is to make profit. And it doesn't matter how. Hopefully, of course, it's legal, yeah? But either using my resources or external resources, it doesn't matter. All what I need, new ideas, new innovation comes to my company to increase my profit, right? That's all. We call it open innovation, require the top management to have open attitude, right? Ability to collaborate with others. Not everybody can do so. An example, Procter & Gamble. Raise your hand if you are familiar with Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble, right? So they have big facility here in Thailand, maybe 3 hours from AIT. They have this program they call C&D. In this program, and they found those information from the company website. So they were trying to say, we are very proud that more than 50% of our products of the Procter & Gamble involve significant collaboration with those outside our walls. They said we partners with the small companies, multinational corporations, individuals, It doesn't matter. All what we need is to bring game-changing innovation. They are searching for good ideas anywhere, anyone. Companies, individuals, if you have a good idea for any product, you go to the company. If they like it, they will produce it. Of course, you will receive certain amount of money because of this idea. The competitor, Unilever. I'm quite sure you know this company. Yeah? Give me some products of Unilever. Any products of Unilever? Shampoo, huh? But yeah, I know shampoo, but give me the name of the, I'm sorry? Dove and, what's that? I never heard about what? Sunsilk, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sunsilk, Dove. Almost everything you are using inside your home comes from Unilever, trust me, okay? Now, this company had exactly the same. They said, look, we have world-class R&D facility making great innovation, but we know that the world is full of brilliant people with brilliant ideas, and the goal is how can we benefit from those brilliant people who are not working for us. Another company here, another example, Air Products. This is oil and gas related company. They have a program, they call it Identify and Accelerate. They have a unit within the company, has one objective, looking around, searching for good, smart, brilliant ideas, and then they bring those ideas to the company. Again, for one goal, making more profit, right? Any question about user innovation, open innovation? Another application of the concept open innovation is crowdsourcing. Before I start, crowdsourcing, raise your hand if you are familiar with crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing? Now, crowdsourcing is a very interesting concept. Here they said some companies, they may outsource a function or a facility, or for example the design facility or the design department. Why should you have a designer within your company? You hire people, you pay them salary, you cover their insurance, and in the end they might not be the best designers on earth, right? Why would you bring designers? I'm sure you will make sure those designers are really good, but you know, we are sure also there are some other even much better designers somewhere, and the idea is how can we benefit from those. Now, in this crowdsourcing concept, in 2006, Huawei, he wrote in a Wired magazine, he was the first to mention to the crowdsourcing terminology. He said, look, the outsourcing of tasks that is traditionally done within the company by the company employee, but this is old concept. The new concept, whenever you can use the crowd, it doesn't matter, any people on earth who have access to the internet, those are your target. Anyone who can participate, who can help you, you should be open to collaborate. One of the most significant application of crowdsourcing was from this company. Have you heard about this? Threadless company. Threadless, it's a t-shirt maker, t-shirt with some interesting design. This company, instead of hiring t-shirt designers, assuming I have a company here in Thailand and I am producing t-shirts with nice design, so how it works? I will try to find the best designers who are here in Thailand likely, bring them into my company, paying them salaries, cover insurance, and you know, the traditional way of dealing with employee. But this company, the guys, they were really smart. They said, no, we don't want to do this. They created an web-based competition saying anyone interested to come up with design for t-shirt can participate. Anyone who is interested in designing t-shirts can participate. And guess what? The company didn't even bother by creating a committee to select the best design. No, they let the people to select the best design. And the best designers, guess what? In the end of the day, received only $2,000. So now what happened? You will have almost thousands of designs. You will have a list of the best designs. And actually, all what you pay is $2,000. Back in the day, to do this, you will hire designers. And the better the designers, the higher the salary. And we are talking about yearly salaries, right? No, this company is very simple. Simple competition, simple website. Who is interested can contribute. People, those who are interested in design submitted their design. The crowd, the people also selected the best design. And then the company gave $2,000 to the best designers. And they make, of course, the t-shirt. The profit margin of this company, 73. Never happened before. I'm not aware of any other company who did this. Those smart companies, they benefit from open innovation concept. 73% profit margin. This is huge, this is significant, right? By using the concept of crowdsourcing. Actually, Threadless is not the only company. Back in the day, 2006, 2007, other companies did the same. But before I mention to the other companies, you remember, of course, the value chain of t-shirt makers. We have the designers here, production, marketing and sales, and then hopefully you bring the t-shirt to your stores and customers buy them. By adopting the crowdsourcing concept, you don't need designers, you don't need marketing, because actually people are aware of your competition, people participate, people selected the best design. And if you says, okay, I will think this design, I think this design is the best, there is high probability you would buy this t-shirt, right? If you really love it, you will buy it. So the company, no design department, no marketing and sales, and of course, because they are selling their products online, they don't have stores. That's why the company was making 73% profit margin. Another company, Facebook. Facebook in 2006, it was a small, tiny company. It was very poor. They don't have money to hire translators. Can you believe that, Rubina? No money at the time. It was a small, tiny company. The guy, Mark, he was a student, right, at Harvard. So I remember at that time I used to live in Tokyo, and they received so many emails because I speak Arabic. So please, can you translate into Arabic? And other people, French, Spanish, Russian, everyone was receiving emails. Once you mention to your mother tongue language, they will email you, please help us to translate the website. The site was translated into French in 24 hours with zero cost, no money. I think Mark was really smart right from the beginning, no? No money, for free. Another more interesting example, we are familiar with Airbnb, right? Airbnb. Another example, of course, Uber. Anyone who has a car and has spare time and you want to make extra money, you need to go to this website and offer your services. Customers who are looking for a service, they will select. This is what we call the crowd, right? A crowdsourcing. Crowd, it means unidentified number of people. Anyone who has extra room, in case of Airbnb, and you are thinking to make some, more money, you just go into their website, offer your room, anyone, right? Too many concepts of crowdsourcing. Any other examples of crowdsourcing concepts? application of crowdsourcing? Any example? Yep. I'm sorry, say it again.
It's a network. You can upload your your fields, and the other guy can get a link from you, and he can download the fields. It's a not huge platform. Anybody can upload his resource on the platform, and the other guy can
use those resources. The general concept is either BNB, Airbnb, or Uber, or all the same concept. Say it again.
Freelancers.
Friendly, yeah.
Freelancing.com. Then
If you have some expertise, you just go there, you offer your expertise if there is someone who needs that. But remember, there's certain infrastructure we need. We need internet, we need to be connected to the internet so that we can provide, right? A crowdsourcing, difficult to work with manufacturing, but some other industries is much more easier, right? Who's using Food Panda, yeah? All my money. I'm sure the company is making a lot of profit from me, sure. You come back home lazy, don't want to go out, all what you need just on your app, tick, 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 bring you food. Any restaurants want to offer, they just go onto this website, the application, they register, we customers order. Crowdsourcing, almost all the biggest. Quick question, what is the market value of Airbnb? Market value of Uber?
31 billion.
Yeah, 29 to 30 billion. And what is it in the end of the day? It's an app, it's an app, right? Application. 30 billion. I don't even know how many zeros are there. Huh? Crowdsourcing. So, any question about user innovation, open innovation, crowdsourcing? So all what I was talking about today is, first, innovation has two components, creativity part, idea generation part, and the implementation. And because of the high competition worldwide, companies can no longer rely on their own people, own resources. They need to collaborate with others outside your company. It doesn't matter, suppliers, customers, user, competitor. It doesn't matter. Anyone who can bring value to your company, you should collaborate with. And then we discussed briefly the concept of crowdsourcing, and we gave some examples of like Uber or Threadless or Airbnb or the freelance. You mentioned anyone who can provide service, they can just go online, offer their services. People, customers, users who are interested, they can just use it. Crowdsourcing. The provider are unidentified and they can be from anywhere on earth, right? This is the whole concept of crowdsourcing. So any question, any idea, any similar examples you have in mind? Yeah, please. Please.
It also works in newspaper. So there's this company called Wired Company where they outsource because some magazines or some newspaper company like Wired, or rather they want quick information, so they outsource those work to people like in India for quick information. But while at the same time the people that work in their company, they focus on the analysis, not on the quick data. So that's also.
So people provide the information, right?
Yes, like quick information or quick data, like some quick data. So that.
Thank you very much for sharing. Any other examples of crowdsourcing? Yeah, please. Keep it far away. Yeah.
So Getty Images.
I'm sorry?
Getty Images.
Yeah.
So they are like gathering photographs for different photographers, and then photographers can sign up, and then when we downloaded their image, we need to pay them or something like that.
If of course you like. So anyone who interested in this business, photography, they take nice photo, upload them. Those who are interested, they can buy them, right? Any other examples? Crowdsourcing. Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, similar to Pinterest.
So?
Pinterest.
And can you explain it? What is this business?
Pinterest is an online site wherein people can share their photos to, just like Getty Images.
Similar idea, right? The whole point is anyone who has interest, expertise can offer online, right?
They are coming ICOs, initial coin offering. There is a crowdsourcing for money.
Okay. I think he mentioned to crowdfunding, right? Crowdfunding. So those who have great ideas, they go online and they said, okay, I want to do this and this and that, but obviously you are searching for support, for fund. So if someone is wealthy, have enough money, and you want to invest, you just look those ideas, if you like, you invest in them. Crowdfunding, almost similar concept with the crowdsourcing, crowdfunding. Anyone who has money, want to invest, they go on to this website, they find it.
Now they are doing with ICOs, initial coin offering. They are making their own coin and they are trying to sell the coins based on the idea.
So if you have no question, yep. She has a question. I come back to you, please. Yeah.
It's like crowdsourcing is basically outsourcing, right?
Yes, thank you very much.
But then what's the difference?
Okay, very interesting. She said, okay, the conclusion, the bottom line, crowdsourcing is basically outsourcing. First of all, do we know what does it mean, outsourcing? What do we mean by outsourcing? What is outsourcing first? Outsourcing. Outsourcing. Yeah, please.
It's taking the work from the company and just allow someone else in other countries or
someone else outside
someone else to work for that service.
Yes. So do we have Chinese here?
Chinese.
Yeah, China, right? Do you know Apple, almost all Apple products are manufactured in China, right?
You mean the whole iPhone?
The entire phone, a smartphone, Apple iPhone, it's almost everyone basically, yeah.
Foxconn manufactures iPhone.
Yeah. Anyway, but almost manufacturing in China. Because if you want to manufacture in United States, it's too expensive. Just think about the salaries and everything is too expensive. Outsourcing, if you have a manufacturing, if you are producing something, a car or t-shirt or device, most of the time we outsource the manufacturing facility to China because the quality is really good. Also, it will cost you much more lower. So outsourcing is basically a function, something I used to do within my company. I used to produce this entirely within my company, but because I'm not that efficient, because it costs me a lot, so what if I do everything, design, component and everything, but the manufacturing, I send it somewhere else, right? Somewhere else to produce it. A function used to be performed within the company and then you outsource it to someone else. You allow someone else to do it for you. This is outsourcing. Now, crowdsourcing is exactly the same with one difference. In outsourcing, for example, I want someone to provide me with the technology. So what I will do, I will come up with the bid, right? I say the specification of the component I need, the description of the component I need, and then I will contact some suppliers. I know them, A, B, C, those companies, 5, 6, 10, or I just go to a magazine and they announce. If you will contact me saying, look, we can provide you with this component you need. This is identified number of suppliers, a few suppliers of this component. Crowdsourcing is different. Crowdsourcing, it doesn't really matter. Anyone who is interested to participate can participate. Anyone who can perform, anyone who has interest can participate. The only difference between outsourcing and crowdsourcing is that crowdsourcing, we are dealing with an identified number of participants. Anyone who can design something can participate. Versus in outsourcing, we usually deal with a few, 5, 6, 7 suppliers, and we can send them the bid with all the specification. They will review it. They will send us their offer, right? We check, and then we select the best. The crowdsourcing, we don't do anything. It's the market. It's the customers. Do everything. Yeah? Thank you very much for the question. Before I start, please raise your hand if you are familiar with disruptive innovation. Raise your hand. 1, 2. Okay. So what do you know about, if you don't mind sharing with us?
It's kind of like destroy the everything.
I'm sorry, say it again.
It's kind of like destroy
Something destroy something else? Yeah, this.
Revolutionizing the current technology or current process to some new technology or to some new process. For example, sending messages via writing it letter to emails is a disruptive technology. Using internet, being globalization is a disruption.
Disruptive. So the class of now we will be talking about those. We will be talking about how technology evolve, because technology doesn't really come in a revolutionary matter. Technology evolve. Technology usually in the beginning start not very good, but over time the performance is improving and then it becomes efficient. So you can think about the early days of TV. You remember the black and white TV? Probably you are too young, I'm quite sure, but maybe you have seen it in a movie or something, yeah? The black and white TV with the very big box in the back, right? And nowadays we have those beautiful LCD. Technology evolved, technology improved over time. There is no one technology which was produced highly or perfect from the first time. It's not gonna happen. It never happened before. Technology evolves, technology improves over time. The first thing I will be talking about how technology evolves over time, and then we will be discussing the disruptive technologies, disruptive innovation. What do we mean by disruptiveness? Now, if you look here, R&D, everybody's talking about R&D. All companies, they have their own R&D, and the R&D is supposed to come up with the new technologies, new products, new services, right? With the hope, with the goal to bring something to the market. The truth is, R&D are two different or separate activities. One we call research, and here in research we are talking about two different kinds of research. Basic and applied research. Basic research, usually the state support, the state invests in it. Government, the countries spend on basic research. You know, when the government gives some institutions, research institutions, fund to conduct research, because the government wants to increase the knowledge within the country. Companies are not interested in basic research. Companies are interested in applied research. Meaning, you spend money in research with the hope you will come up with something you can bring to the market. If something has no commercialization behind, something you cannot actually sell, companies will not do it, right? So when we speak about research, we're talking about two, basic, applied. The development is basically using those knowledge you created during the research to bring a new product, device, service to the market. Even though we always say R&D, the truth is they are separated. But there is no clear cut, as you can see here. They are overlap a little bit. Here, we will see how technology evolved, how technology improved. Usually, new technology will be invented. Think about the laser technology. An example, I used this before the break. The technology is there, but people may not see the business application, right? We may not see the business application, meaning the technology, the laser technology is there, but how can we use this laser technology in different products? It might not be clear in the beginning. With time, most likely someone with marketing background, likely a marketing guy, will see like, you know what, I think I can use this technology to produce this kind of products. For example, this very simple pointer. You know, the guy is basically an application of the laser technology, right? So the technology was there for several years. Then people start to think, how can we use this technology in certain products? And then we bring product to the market. Usually the product not really that efficient. Yeah, you can think about the first digital camera. Do you know how much was it? In 1995, 96, 97, how much was it? Digital cameras. You remember the first digital camera? It used to be big like that, right? If it falls on your feet, probably it will break it. Sure. Big, $1,000 US, right? And the efficiency was really low. Now, once the product in the market, what we do? We improve it, and then we launch the next generation. We improve, and you know the story of iPhone 5, 7, 10 now, yeah? Similar to iPhone improvement. It's a cycle. If you think about laser example I gave you before, the CD players, the laser writer, the pointer, the barcode, almost everything. Even though the technology was there for a long time, it takes 20 years to start to see business application of that technology, right? Now, I want to talk with you about how technology evolve, how technology improve over time. If someone, forget about technology now, let us talk about a human. Now assume you go to the gym, okay? To the gym, bodybuilder, whatever you are doing there, but you go to the gym for exercise. So maybe with to the gym, exercise, yeah? Working out, okay? So maybe, you know the weight lifter? So in the beginning, maybe you can't carry maybe 10 kilogram, but the more you exercise, the more the weight, right, you carry. Is that correct? Yeah. But this will continue until certain point, right? For example, my nature, my body character can only maximum, I don't know how, say 50 kilogram. No matter how much I exercise more, I'm not gonna do more. I'm not going to carry one day 1,000 kilogram, right? It's not gonna happen. So we people exercise, and the more we exercise, the more weight we lift, but we have a limit. We reach the limit. So the 50 is my limit, maybe this gentleman 60 kilogram is his limit, some other people, you know, more. So we have limit. Every individual has a certain limit. Now technology is exactly the same. Is this, the more effort, the more time we spend in the gym, the higher the performance, right? But until certain point, and then that's it. Technology exactly the same. In the beginning, the performance usually not good. Think about TV, think about digital camera, think about any cars, any technology. In the beginning, the performance is really low, not as good. But the more efforts we put, and by efforts, I mean money, the amount of money we spend on that technology to improve it, the number of hours we spend on that, the number of people we are working on that technology, any efforts a company may invest to improve. So the more efforts you have, the higher performance. But if you see here in the beginning, any technology have almost a flat, meaning improvement, flat improvement. The more you spend on this technology, the performance will be very small improvement. We will see very small until certain point, and then the performance will improve a lot. The performance, something happen usually here, allow the technology or allow us to improve a technology very fast. And then the more we are spending effort, the technology will reach the limit. That's it. No matter how much effort, how much money we spend on R&D, the technology can no longer be improved further. That's it. Okay? So this we call S-curve, flat in the beginning, and then something happened, a lot of improvement, then the technology reached the limit. We call this the S-curve of technology improvement, the S-curve. Now, the S-curve, here, initially, the performance improvement is very small. And then something will happen, meaning, in the beginning, for example, I'm working on laptop. So there are too many characteristics I can work on to improve. So I have certain budget in my R&D, and the goal is to improve my laptop. I'm a manufacturer of a laptop or computer. I don't really know what people want to know. What people want to see in computer or in laptop. Should I focus on this? Should I focus on that? I don't know. But with time, I will realize actually people want longer battery, right? People want lighter laptop. People want maybe higher capacity, right? When I recognize those are important for the customers, my effort will focus on those three drivers, right? That's why the performance will increase a lot. Meaning, in the beginning, we bring technology to the market. I don't really know what people want exactly. What characteristics of those products will be more appealing or more attractive to the customers. Once I identify them, I focus my performance on them. Assume you are writing a report. Now, the report, there is, the organization of the report, the content of the report, the way you write the report. Now, if your professor says, look, for me, it's important the organization of the report. Anything else is not important. Then you will focus how to make your report look really beautiful. Once we identify what is needed, then the performance improve. Why? Because we focus more. It's exactly here. In the beginning, we bring new technology to the market. We are not really sure on which aspect or on which characteristic we need to focus more to improve. Once we identify them, we focus, and then the performance will increase a lot. So if I go back, the S-curve, and this is typical across all technologies. Initially, we spend a lot of effort, meaning maybe money, maybe number of hours, maybe number of people working on this technology, but the improvement is very small. Then something will happen. We identify the aspects or characteristics of that product we need to focus on, and then the performance will increase a lot, and then we reach the limit. 3 stages, and those 3 form the S-curve of technology. Now, before I go further, do you know what is this? Please, do you know what is this box here? Guessing. You don't know, of course, it's not in your slides. Guessing, what is this? Computer, yeah, because I did mistake and I shared it with you, right? That was mistake. So believe it or not, that was a hard disk drive made by IBM, and guess what? It's 5 megabytes. Look at how big. Huh? Talking about technology, 5, can you believe that? Huh? Okay, we are talking about 1956. Hard disk drive. Imagine. Now, technology, as you can see here, technology keep improving. until we have what we have today, something really highly efficient. But you can see the next example also. I'm sorry. Car from, you know. So we start with very highly inefficient technology, the car, but we keep improving it. So now when we speak about the car, what people want to see? Safety, right? So we comfort, right? So those are very important. We focus on effort, our effort on improving those. The safety, the comfort, right? Maybe oil consumption, because the oil and gas are really expensive. So we need, right? We need to reduce the consumption. Beginning, technology is not good. You know the speed of the car back in the day, right? Basically, if you run, you are faster, sure. Horse, for sure, horses, much more faster than these cars, right? Yeah. Now, no matter how much you improve, the technology will reach one day to the limit, right? You remember the example of carrying weight? Individual, human have limit. Technology, the same, has a limit. Now, here's the question. Sometimes, not all technology will be improved along the S-curve until they reach the limit. Sometimes, when the product is here or here, no matter what's the location, another technology comes, another innovation, maybe replace them, right? So people, and consequently companies, are no longer interested in what they have, but they will switch into a new one. The new product or the new technology that destroy the current or the existing one, we call it disruptive technology, disruptive innovation. Meaning, disruptive innovation, something make the market, us, switch from one product to another product, right? Now, just think about who had Nokia back in the day? Nokia, mobile phone, Nokia, almost everyone, right? Nokia. Back in the day, your first mobile phone was what? Huh? Was that? Nokia, right? And yours?
3350.
Nokia, almost all of us Nokia, right? Almost. We know we have Motorola, but Nokia was really the biggest, right? And then we all switch into smartphones. I cannot believe, or I cannot imagine someone goes to the market nowadays and buy a mobile phone. It's not gonna happen, hopefully at least, right? Nobody have it, right? You have 2 smartphones. Yeah? This guy has to. My point, when we switch from mobile phone, the traditional mobile phone, into smartphone, for us, a smartphone are disruptive innovation. Disruptive, why? Because the market is switched from one product into another product, right? Or you may think about the cameras, since we were talking about Polaroid, right? The switching from chemical-based cameras, Polaroid or Kodak back in the day, into digital cameras. So for us, the digital cameras are disruptive, right? Disruptive innovation, disruptive technology. Why? Because people no longer interested in traditional cameras, but people are more interested in the new one. So the new one, the digital camera, disturb the market of traditional or chemical-based cameras. When the customer switch, we call it disruptive, right? We call that product disruptive. Smartphone is a disruptive for mobile. Digital camera, disruptive for traditional cameras, right? Yeah? So, Professor Christensen, he's a Harvard professor, still working for Harvard. He was the first one to come up with this disruptive innovation. Actually, he wrote a book. And if you have time, please try to read this book. The name of the book is Innovator's Dilemma. In this book, he said, look, this book is not about bad companies. No. It's about best market leader companies who lost their market position because of what he called it disruptive innovation. He said large companies, well-established companies fail and lose their market share because of what he called disruptive innovation, disruptive technologies. And he gave several examples explaining disruptive innovation. Now, in his description, he said, this is performance. If you look at this graph, performance, time. Over time, technology is improving. Over time, technology is improving. And the disruptive product will come lower in the beginning, lower in performance, but within certain period of time, the performance will improve and surpass the current product. So the disruptive comes with lower performance, but and then over time the performance will increase. I will give you an example. The first digital cameras came to the market, $1,000, big, plus the quality really awful, like really bad. Now the question is, why would people pay $1,000? At that time, Polaroid, $15 you buy one. Not Polaroid, I'm sorry, Kodak. You know Kodak with the film in the back? Huh? $10, I'm sorry, not 15, $10 you buy really good cameras versus the digital ones, $1,000 is too much, right? But people, scientists, those who want digital images, they would buy it, right? So companies who are producing the digital camera, they will spend money to improve the performance of the digital camera, and within certain period of time, the performance of the digital camera was really significant that surpassed the traditional cameras, right? So nowadays you see those small, beautiful digital cameras, right? Yeah. So because the performance start, even though very low, the quality was bad, too expensive, but over time the performance has increased significantly, and then people, they were no longer interested in Kodak or Polaroid cameras, and all of them, they switched into digital camera, right? Quick question, what do you think about the digital camera market nowadays? The digital camera market nowadays. Anyone can describe? Do you know anyone who goes to the market to buy a camera anymore? No, right? Because
we have
mobile phones, right? So the cameras, and actually the smartphone is not just disruptive for mobile phone, but also for the camera makers, right? So the
cameras will be obsolete.
Huh?
Digital cameras will be obsolete in some time.
Yeah, you know, if you notice, those who buy cameras, they buy the most sophisticated one with too many things, right? Nobody buy the professional. Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, those who buy cameras are actually buying the professional one, but the regular ones are nowhere. Honestly, I don't think anybody on earth nowadays can buy it, right? It's too yesterday. It's too old, right? Huh? Now, I want to share with you how it works, the disruptive innovation, how it works. Now, in the beginning, the performance is inferior. You know what does mean inferior, right? To the existing one. Think about the digital camera, the Kodak camera. The performance of the digital camera very low compared to the traditional cameras. I'm talking about 1995, 96, 97, back in the day. But it has a value in one dimension, meaning the digital camera allows scientists or those who have interest in digital imaging to take the photo, play with it, modify it, you know, on your computer. You can do a lot of things. So those people, not regular people like us, but experts. They buy it. So small segment, the experts will buy the new technology, and then within certain period of time, the disruptive innovation, the new technology, will outperform the existing or the current one. Exactly what the digital camera did to the traditional cameras. And then guess what? Normal people like us will all switch into digital cameras. Exactly what we did with the mobile phone, smartphone. In the beginning, BlackBerry came. It was for business people, right? Mainly business people use a BlackBerry. And then the entire market moved into smartphone, right? It became mainstream. Professor Christensen, the one from Harvard I told you about, the one who came up with the book Innovator's Dilemma, he gave an example from hard disk drive. He said during the 80s, mid-80s, Seagate was manufacturing 5.25 hard disk drive. You remember the big hard disk drive, 5.25? I don't know how old are you, but probably you can ask your dad or something. Hard disk drive, 5.25, big. And the main customer of Seagate was IBM. Imagine IBM, the biggest computer company on earth at that time, was your customer. Heaven cannot be better than this. And then another company, small tiny company, Connor, they came up with a 3.5 hard disk drive. Now, the 3.5 hard disk drive is smaller in size, but also smaller in capacity, only 10 megabyte. Remember, the 5.25 big, but 60 megabyte. The 3.5, only 10 megabyte. Now, Seagate, they have all the expertise, so they copied the 3.5 hard disk, and they told IBM, look, we can't give you this, a new hard disk drive. It's smaller in size, but you know what? A smaller capacity, only 10. IBM said, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in this. My customers want 60 megabyte or more. Don't tell me about 10. So Seagate, they stopped working on this 3.5. They stopped. They said, no market. We are not interested. Versus Connor, they brought the 3.5 to the market. Only a small segment of the market at that time, they bought the 3.5. Some companies were interested in producing portable computers. Portable, something you can carry. And the 3.5 is small, allow those companies who are interested in portable computer to use it. The 5.25, too big. So those small companies who were not happy with the 5.25 because the 5.25 did not allow them to produce portable computer. So those companies, they said, okay, we will buy the 3.5, and we know it's a smaller in size, on capacity, only 10, but you know what? Customers who are interested in portable computer, they will buy it. You know, you need to sacrifice the capacity. What happened is, 1987, the 3.5 performance has improved a lot, and the capacity become 100 megabyte, which surpassed the 5.25. And what happened? IBM, they terminated their contract with Seagate and they switched into Connor. Imagine, a few years before, they were saying, no, we are not interested. This is a good example of disruptiveness. When the customer, the mainstream, move into another technology. Yeah? So in the beginning, everybody happy with the 5.25. In a few years, the entire market moved into 3.5. Because the performance has increased a lot. Another example here, you may look. Do you know what is this? What's that? Yeah, it's almost a calculator, almost. Learning? No, something, it's like performing the same task of calculators, the electronic calculators we have, but this is the older one. During the 50s, Acer was worldwide producing this slide rulers. Almost all engineers, they need this for calculations. Then during the 70s,
Is that like an abacus?
huh? It's almost similar to engineers to make the math, to calculate a few things. They can use this calculators. It's similar to calculator, but the same concept. It's easy to multiply and, The Japanese came up with this electronic calculator, and the entire, in the beginning, only scientists bought this electronic calculator. But in a few years, accountants start to use it, students start to use it, shop owners start to use it. The mainstream of the market is switching to the new technology. My point is, usually a new technology comes in the beginning, performance not really good, too expensive, so a small group of people will buy it, but over time the performance will increase a lot. The price most likely will go down and the entire market switch. Now that takes some time, right? That takes some time, couple of years. It's not automatic, right? Couple of years, but surely in the end the market will switch. And if that happens, we call this technology disruptive innovation or disruptive technology. Okay, you know this, right? You can think about Skype, you can think about, I don't know. Yeah, voice over internet protocol, right? Land phone, the phone we use at home. You can, I'm sorry? What's that? PSTN. Maybe the land phone we have at home. And this voice over internet protocol emerged. The quality wasn't good because when you speak, it just interrupted too many times. It's not really, the quality cannot be compared to the land phone. But nowadays, I'm quite sure almost everybody here is using WhatsApp or Line or Viber, and the quality is so good. Actually, nobody uses land phone anymore. Do you? Nobody's using land phone anymore, right? We switch because the performance has increased a lot. On top of that, it's almost zero, right? WhatsApp is, you don't pay. Viber. So for us, WhatsApp or Viber or all that VoIP, the voice over internet protocol technologies are disruptive for land phone, right? Okay, I want you to look at this graph, please. This graph represents the sales of digital cameras. The sales of digital camera, traditional cameras. The gray columns represent the traditional cameras sales in millions. The black columns represent the sales of digital camera. Now, if you see here, from 1995 to 2003, okay, from 1994, when the first digital camera, commercial digital camera was in the market, how many years it took the traditional camera to surpass the traditional camera? How many years it took the digital camera to surpass the sales of traditional cameras? How many years? 9 years, right? 9 years. So the traditional camera was in the market. In fact, in 2000s, witnessed high sales of traditional camera, meaning traditional cameras were in the market, but people were much is still very much interested in the traditional cameras, right? But what happened? The quality of the digital camera has improved a lot. The prices dropped. And then, of course, because of computers, right? So you can upload the camera, the photos into your computer, Photoshop, you play with them, you make yourself much more charming than reality, yeah? So those are attractive points. The entire market is switch. It takes us 9 years for the digital camera to disturb the market of traditional camera. Time. Time is part of the story. Any question about this? Okay, quick question. What makes digital cameras so popular? What makes digital cameras so popular? I'm sorry? Quality? Quality later on, the quality has improved. Of course, you cannot compare it with the traditional ones. What is it?
Customizable. It is more customizable.
Yeah, something we can customize. We can edit the photo. We can play with it, right? Is that correct? What else? Yeah, soft copy. That's why we can edit it, right?
Display.
Huh?
Internal.
You can store it, right? And you can send it by emails. And then Facebook make the situation worse, right? Yeah, huh? Yeah, it is true, right? So because of those, the sales of digital camera, become really outstanding, really high comparing to the digital camera. Many things happen, but in the end of the day, it took the market 9 years to switch into digital cameras. Yeah, those are other examples. From track 8 or something into cassette. Do you know this one, right? Yeah. At least in the movies. This one, and then CDs, and I am old, but actually I never used this one. I started here, I think. This is live, disruptive. Something switch, improve. Start with a small performance, but over time the performance increase. What is here? What is the relationship between those? What is the relationship between, I'm sorry? What is the relationship between those? What is the relationship between those? Say it again. What is the relationship between those? Yeah?
Going more digital.
Say it again.
Going more digital.
Yeah, interesting. We are heading into digital world, sure, right?
Or making things compact, or
These are the products that
I come back to you. I'm sorry, say it again.
These are the products that obliterate the previous one.
Yes, each one here, if you see the type writing machine was replaced by Microsoft basically, right? And then we have the traditional camera replaced by, and then we have the LCD replaced, and then we have the, I don't know. But each one is actually replacing something else. Those products for us are are disruptive innovation, disruptive technologies, right? Why? Because they replace something else. The market is switching into the new product. When that happens, we call it disruptive. So the disruptive for us is when the mainstream of the market is switching to different technology products. We call it disruptive technology, disruptive products, disruptive innovation. Again, back in the day, whenever I wanted to see a movie, I go to Blockbuster, I rent a movie. Have you done this? No. I think you are too young for that. But we used to go, believe it or not, and then we rent the movie, you take it home, the following day you bring it back, and if you missed it, you have to pay another day, right? And then Netflix came online, all what you need, just you pay a certain amount of money, download the movie, you are allowed to see it for 5 times, I don't know, something. So for us, Netflix is the disruptive, right? Disruptive innovation. I'm not sure if we can call Uber disruptive or not. Is it disruptive or not? Uber disruptive? Okay, quick question. Is Uber disruptive to traditional taxi business model? Think few minutes. Is Uber can be considered disruptive to traditional taxi business model? Is it disruptive or not? Raise your hand if you said yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Raise your hand if you think no. Okay, 9 versus 10. So 10, they said no, Uber is not really a disruptive to taxi drive. So if you said yes, why would you consider it a disruptive? Why would you consider Uber a disruptive innovation for a traditional taxi business? Why you consider, say it again?
Because it's more easier for us.
It's much more easier for us. Uber easier, okay.
And people are switching from taxi to...
Say it again?
And people are switching from taxi.
People.
Yeah, traditional.
But would you say the mainstream of the market switching to Uber or no? Not yet. Not yet. Both are there. Is that correct? Both are there. And they are both operating. But actually, no one replaced the other one. If you think about mobile phone versus smartphone, mobile phone is dead. Really dead, right? If you speak about traditional cameras versus digital cameras, traditional cameras dead. Nobody's with full mind go to the market and buy it. But nowadays with Uber, we have both. So we can't consider, we may need to wait a few years more to see. But for now, we can't consider Uber as a disruptive. Look, I know if you look at, if you Google it, some people will argue Uber is a disruptive. But for me, the definition of disruptiveness is very clear. The mainstream, meaning the majority of the market would switch. And because I know this is not happening yet, so I wouldn't call it disruptive. Huh? It's just my opinion, right? Okay, quick question. Do you know what is this? EMC. EMC, huh? A few years ago, yeah? It's a cloud technology company. You know, the whole world now is moving into the cloud. Now, Western Digital, do you know Western Digital? The company, Western Digital, WD, is the biggest hard disk drive manufacturer, and it's located just 5 kilometers from here. I don't know where's the direction. Yeah, I think that direction. Western Digital, the biggest hard disk drive manufacturer. Now, the company is producing hard disk drive. And the entire world, obviously, we are moving into the cloud. How many of you is using Dropbox? Dropbox is the cloud, right? Dropbox, yeah? Because this is the only way to make sure your files are safe, right? But sooner or later, all of us, or in fact, it's happening already. Do you know anyone who goes to the market to buy external hard disk drive to save your file? It doesn't, it's not happening. That's it, it's over. For hard disk drive, the cloud technology is a disruptive innovation for hard disk drive. Now, I always take my students from the Management of Innovation class to visit Western Digital. And I know how the company is suffering because the main business is the hard disk drive is no longer actually attractive. People do not buy it anymore. Why would you buy it? You have the cloud. You have Google Drive for free, you have Dropbox for free, almost all of them, right? Microsoft, I think they have two, right? Yes, Microsoft One, yeah. It's just I don't use it. But anyway, cloud technology, something comes, obviously will disturb the drive. It started already, disturbing the drive, hard disk drive business, right? So for us, it's a clear disruptive innovation. Now, you heard about this, right? Digital banking. In Thailand, Siam Commercial Bank, already 20% of their branches are terminated, shut it down. Branches. But you know what does that mean? It means people lost their job. So there's a good side, but there's a sad side. People have families, people have kids, and then when you close the branches of your bank, what does that mean? It means people go home. So it's on one side, I think it has a negative society consequences, but this is not the focus of this class, but we need to be aware of. Now, Siam Commercial Bank, 20% of their branches are closed because people no longer are interested to go to the bank. You can do everything with your, my mobile is there. You can do everything through your mobile, right? One of the industries that will suffer a lot from digitalization is, in fact, banking industry, right? You don't really need the branches. You don't really need large number of employees. So we will see very soon people start to lay off in banking industry because of the digital businesses coming, digital banking. So this is the pure disruptive technology for us, right? But focusing on one industry. Believe it or not, I am quite sure while I was talking about Polaroid, and how the company went bankrupt. Even though the company is rich, the company has all the cash you can imagine, the company has a brand name, the company, but in fact, within 9 years, the company went bankrupt, right? Now the question is, why they couldn't make it? Why a company like Nokia, they couldn't make the switch into smartphone? How difficult can be? It's impossible. You have all the technology, you have all the expertise, you are Nokia. How come it took you 6 years to produce smartphone? And they have all the capability, all the expertise, all the technology. They could, but they didn't. And the question is why? Why the top management of Nokia did not switch into smartphones? Why it took them 6 years? And this is the question. Here are some explanation, if you would, as why companies, they actually fail to switch into the disruptive technologies. First of all, because they make investments in existing technology. They make investments. Now, to explain it to you, imagine yourself working for Polaroid. Now, what does that mean? It means imagine we are all here actually in Polaroid company. Almost every single person in this room has chemical engineering background because this is the business, right? Now, we are number one, we are the best. Actually, Polaroid at that time, it was exactly like Apple today, like big brand name, right? Now, imagine I come to you, I am the CEO. Allow me, please, this position for 5 minutes. I come to you and they say, hey guys, by the way, there's a new technology emerging. We call it digital cameras, and I think this is the future. We need to switch. Do you think you would agree with me? No, because if we switch, what will happen to you? You will go home. You are all chemical engineers. I will not need you. What I'm telling you is, guys, from tomorrow, I don't really need anyone here. Out. My point is, when companies fail, not because they are stupid, but they are human, there are emotion behind, there are a lot of stuff. If I am a CEO of Polaroid and I want to switch into digital, first of all, I need to think about you. Everybody here has kids, has family, has house, has rent, has... You can't simply... So you see the company sinking, but what can you do? It's impossible to take the other decision, right? Because to take that decision, I need to make sure people agree with me, but nobody will agree because if he's a chemical engineer, chemical engineering scientist, if he agree with me, what does it mean? He's going home, sure. Of course, he will say, no, we are not gonna do it. We are not moving. Now, smart companies, what they would do, hey, by the way, what would you have done differently if you are working for Polaroid? You are a top management at Polaroid at that time. What would you do?
Maybe setting up an R&D.
Okay, I need someone else. I come back to you. What would you do? My question. Imagine yourself working for Polaroid and digital cameras emerge. It's there. And taking the decision to switch is really dangerous, highly emotional issue, laying off thousands of people. You are not going to make it. What would you have done? The company did nothing, bankrupt. You raise your hand and then I come. I want someone from this side. Is my question clear? Okay, I say it again. Assuming we are a top management at Polaroid back in the day. And then we know that there is a new technology in the market competing with us, even though the sales is very small. But we know it's emerging. Now, one way is to switch into the new technology, but you can't take that decision. It's too difficult because everybody in this room is chemical engineer versus the new technology is digital based, like 0-1. You know the digitalization is 0-1 thing, has nothing to do with chemical engineering. Now, I can't take the decision saying we need to switch off, terminate our current business, chemistry-based cameras, and we need to switch into digital-based. We cannot because of you, but also because we have no expertise, no knowledge, nothing in the new business. What would you have done as a management? Yeah?
I think the first step is to buy the small company.
Yeah, thank you very much, right? So we do acquisition. If you have cash, you acquire another small company, is that correct? It's expert in digital science, and that small company operate almost independent from you, but they need to do something. You can't just ignore it. You can't. You shouldn't. Not you can't. You can, but you shouldn't do it. So what you do, the best is you acquire another company, acquisition. You know acquisition, right? Or you merge with another company. So what you do, you keep doing your own business, selling the traditional cameras, but you create a new entity. You acquire a new entity, expertise or experts in digital science, and you allow them working on the new business, right? So this is the safest way. So if your market fail, then you have something else, a pickup. But you can't just do what Nokia did, what Polaroid did. They start watching, on the beach, watching the market is moving. It's disaster, what happened, right? And then in the end, what happened? Those people, of course, they lost their job. You see my point? In the end, they arrived to the same conclusion. In the beginning, they didn't move because they couldn't take the decision because they know they need to fire everybody in the room. But after 9 years, everybody actually went home because of this doing nothing story, right? Now, this is investments. Do you agree about this? With this? Managers at incumbents mean established companies, current companies in the market, do not see the new technology as a threat. Do you believe in this? Huh? Yeah. It's so funny how we are seeing the same story over all companies removing, all companies those who failed, those who lost their market share, they went through the same. Because what happened to them, like a Polaroid or Nokia, they are number one in the market. So they are already arrogant. They think they are the best, and they were, of course. And they think people love their product. You know, back in the day, if you have Nokia, you feel happy, you feel like proud, right? And because of that, they would think, oh, no, the customers will not switch into the digital camera. You know, the digital camera 1000, who would buy it? Or plus, the quality is not really good. Who will buy the digital? A lot of excuses, right, to support their. The problem is, in a few years, things change. Look, I want to share with you the current here. And those, what I'm going to show you now, they are not a joke. They are a real answers, comes from real people, big, famous, well-known people. Phonograph. The quote. This is Edison. He's, of course, the smartest person I think we know. He said, look, phonograph is not of any commercial value. He thought, actually, it's not interesting. And then at that time, he was wrong, of course. You know, it was widely used. Another one, aeroplane. And this quote comes from the president of the British Royal Society. It means a smart scientist. He said, heavier than air flying machine is simply impossible. He said, no way, you can't. Something heavier than the air fly is not going to happen. So people tend to reject a new technology. It's just a human behavior. Computer, and I really love this one because this guy, chairman of IBM, cannot be more smarter than that. And he said, I think there are about 5 computers. I think, he said, he wasn't sure. Why? Why people? And one of the best, in fact, is PC, the personal computer. And this one is from the, Digital Equipment Corporation. He said, there is no reason for any individual to have a computer. Like, guys, you really don't need computer. Chairman. Shocking, no? Famous people. And my favorite is actually this one. You know, Warner, right? He said, who the hell want to hear actors? Because back in the day, you know, you watch the movie, Charlie Chaplin or no voice, right? And when the technology comes, you know, you can see the movie and hearing. He said, why do you want to hear them talking? I mean, why? Huh? So because of those, usually people think, top management think, the new technology is not gonna fly. It's not gonna disturb them. It's not really interesting. It is. They came up with too many excuses, but in the end of the day, they will be actually, most likely they will be replaced. Yeah? Any question? Is it clear, right? What do we mean by disruptiveness? Disruptive technology, disruptive innovation, right? Yeah, please. Quick one.
So this is the S curve for technology.
Yeah, that's right.
So when a new technology enters, like a disruptive one, then this is no more in the same line. It starts to decline.
Another one, yeah. But different S curve, yeah. It's different S curve. It's just. Yeah, please.
So it's Morse. It's Morse who introduced the idea that every 2 years there's the increase of the transistors, and that like computer will be twice as
faster,
faster.
Powerful, yeah.
Is that true nowadays? Because it seems like the number of transistors on the chip is on the verge of not getting better, or the performance.
People think technology reached the limit already, and we will see soon switching into different. You are talking about Intel, right?
Yeah.
The chips, right? Number of transistors in each chip. I think it's gonna change, sure. Yeah, because as you said, we don't see much more improvement now. So we know that technology reached the maximum limit, right? Any question, please? Any question? Thank you. Any question? So in the end, I think I will have to call it a day. And thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day then. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.